Well, Refugee Welcome Collective collaborates with partners to provide in-depth training programs, weekly learning sessions, resources, and on-demand technical assistance for sponsors, resettlement agency staffs, refugees, paired with sponsors, community, and institutional partners, and others to support quality community sponsorship programs across the United States. So we're gonna jump to housekeeping. As a reminder for everyone joining us today, everyone on today's webinar is automatically muted. However, if you have any tech issues, please submit a question in the chat or the question box so that we can assist you. There will be a time at the end of the webinar for Q&A. Additionally, the presentation and any resources and recording will be sent to everyone following today's webinar. So this brings us to our presenter for today. Our presenter is Lynette Pearl, and she is the Senior Program Officer of Housing for Refugee Housing Solutions. Welcome.
Thank you for having me again. I am so excited. This is one of my favorite topics is field work and how to do inspections. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we're going to get started. Please let me know if you cannot see my screen. Can you see, you guys see my screen? Okay, cool beans. Let's get started. So let me make sure. Okay, cool beans. So I want to talk, before I go into the presentation, I want to talk a little bit about who we are. That's us. We're a nice looking group there. We are a technical assistant and capacity building project for resettlement practitioners, housing providers, community groups, including refugees and other newcomers to the United States. Our team does partner with stakeholders and others, including government and private sector partners, to develop and implement innovative initiatives to increase availability and affordability of housing for refugees and other newcomers. And this is just, we just offer a variety of a lot of things, trainings and educational materials, and the guidance of documents, toolkits, and fact sheets. And we also provide on-demand technical assistance support as well. So I want to put that out there. And you can just simply go to our system, and you can book a TA through our booking system, and just please provide as much information about your session, what you would like to discuss. So we do provide TA not just to landlords, property managers, refugees, and newcomers, but also to sponsors and volunteers as well. And this is just a snapshot of just the different types of resources you will find on our website. So let's go ahead and get into this webinar. First of all, this is for informational purposes only. If you have any questions or concerns about a property while doing an inspection, I highly recommend you consult a professional inspector. One thing I do tell affiliates to do is, because there are specialty areas, get an inspector to volunteer their time to be part of that process, to help not just do inspections, but also to train staff on how to properly look for housing that is livable. So our learning objectives for today is for you to know the importance of what an inspection checklist is. We're going to do a brief overview of internal, is how to do an internal and external inspection. And also we're going to talk about some disclosures. Now, I really want you to pull out your phone if you have one, because we do have a Slido. I want to make this very interactive. So please pull out your phone because we are going to do some Slidos. So let's get started on this webinar. So before a client or you sign a lease, your organization's behalf I really highly recommend that a pre-lease inspection should be conducted. Now, pre-lease inspections help you not only determine the unit's livability, but it also identify pre-existing damages in the unit or home. Now, by identifying pre-existing issues before the move-in, you can give the landlord time to make the necessary repairs while protecting a client from being charged for damages they did not cause before moving in. Now, in order to conduct a systematic and thorough inspection, I do highly recommend you using an inspection checklist. Now, if you really want to be efficient and be on the same page with the potential landlord, you can kindly request a copy of their move-in or walkthrough checklist that they use for the lease signing. Now, the move-in checklist is a document they use to allow them and the tenant to state the property's current condition, and it does note any damages beyond normal wear and tear. By using their checklist as a guide, you give the landlord a list of items that need to be corrected before the move-in, and you can give the client a repair comparison to see if the pre-move-in repairs were made before the lease signing. Now, a landlord, the one thing that's very important when I used to do inspection was the curbside appeal. Now, a landlord's property curbside appeal is an overall condition. It tells you a lot about them and also about the property. Now, when you have a proactive landlord, they will make sure that their properties, they are safe and they're well cared for. When doing a curbside inspection, check for the exterior maintenance. Now, this will include looking at the roof to see if the shingle edges are missing or curled. And this is very especially important if you're leasing a client up into a home versus an apartment complex. Now, the roof should be in decent shape and weather resistant. So the one thing you also are going to look at, especially if it's a home that you're leasing client is the building siding in good condition. By looking at it, you can determine where there has been water damage, and with wood siding, where there are issues with termites and pests. Another curbside appeal to inspect is the landscaping. Is the lawn well kept? Are there visually broken items such as windows and doors? Is there trash present? And is the property well groomed? If the property does offer amenities, are they well maintained? So if, for example, when I used to do inspections during the summer, if the property had a pool, was the pool clean? Was it properly secure to keep children from wandering in the area? Now, if a playground exists, because of course, a lot of our clients do have children, I would check to see also, is the equipment stable without rust or warps? Because again, we want to keep the kiddos safe as well. And I'm an example type of person. So we're going to look at a lot of pictures and then a brief video of what things are supposed to look at and how you pass a unit. So here is an example of a roof that is buckling. This roof has a lot of issues. And this is an example of what water damage looks like on a home. So these are the things you should be looking for when you're doing external inspections. And if you have a house with wooden siding, this is what it looks like when it has termites that are present. Again, anything I'm telling you in this training is for informational purposes. These are just things to look out for when you're doing external inspection. One of the things that's very important too is when securing housing for a client is assessing the safety of the property should be one of your major concerns, safety. When doing a tour, your safety assessment should include not only the unit, but also the exterior of the property. Apartment buildings and complexes, sometimes they do have dark nooks and crannies, but making them a safety issue, you should take that into consideration. It's important to have a good lighting in common areas such as hallways, parking areas, stairwells, laundry rooms, and mail rooms if they're included. Now, here is an example of a common area that is poorly lit. This is a poorly lit hallway. This could be a safety issue. Now, here's an example of a well-lit hallway. And one of the things that I also look at is the structure of the parking lot. Here is a well-lit parking lot. Again, It's hard to decipher if a parking lot is well lit, especially if you're doing your inspection during the day. But I was the type of person, when I was a housing specialist, I did inspections during the day and also at night, because when you do inspections at night, it tells you a lot about the neighborhood and the activity. So again, that's by choice if you are doing inspections at night. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our first Slido. So when doing a curbside inspection, what exterior things should you look for? So I'm going to wait for some responses. Don't be shy. Put your answers in there. Okay, that's a good answer. Mold, that would be more interior, but that's a good answer. We're talking about exterior. We're looking at exterior outside. Driveway, also, that's a good answer as well. Rust, yes. Got 2 more participants typing. The roof, yes, the roof. Lighting and outdoor lighting, great answers. So be on your P's and Q's because we have some additional Slidos in this presentation. So great, all good answers. And unfortunately, due to time, I can't cover everything, but I do want to highlight the main points. So that was good answers. Driveway, those are some good, very good answers. So we're still talking about safety. Because slips and trips and falls on stairways, they are among the most common causes of injuries in the home. So it's very important that you inspect the exterior and interior stairways if applicable. One thing you need to check for, is there a handrail when there are 4 or more consecutive steps? And if so, is that handrail properly secure? Another thing you need to check for, are the steps free of any loose, broken, or missing steps? Are the stairways free from tripping hazards? Are there secure railings on porches, balconies, and landings if applicable? Now, again, let's look at some example. Now, these steps, this is a bad example because it has loose concrete and it can be a tripping hazard. Now, here's an example of a solid stairs with handrails. Because there are 4 more consecutive steps, it does have handrails and it looks like the handrails are very sturdy. Now, the first thing, we're still talking about safety features. The first thing to check for safety features is whether they're in working order. That's another thing. This can include smoke detectors, sprinklers, and fire extinguishers. One thing I know, you can't test the actual fire extinguisher. First and foremost, you need to check to see, is it present? Is it accessible to a client if a fire breaks out? Because it doesn't make a difference if they do have one and it's, say they live on the top floor and the nearest fire extinguisher is 2 floors down. If there's an elevator, you can ask the landlord or the property manager for all the inspections. When's the last time they have been inspected? And also the sprinklers. When's the last time that they have done an inspection of the sprinklers? Again, do the hallways and common areas have working smoke detectors and fire extinguishers? Are they accessible to your clients? That is the main thing. Now, according to the National Fire Alarm and Signaling Code, smoke detectors, this is a big one. Smoke detectors should be in every bedroom and or outside each separate sleeping area in every level of the home, including the basement. So during the inspection, you should not only check for the location of the smoke detectors, but you should test them as well. You can test the smoke detector by pressing and holding the button on it until it makes a high-pitched siren sound. So I am an example type of person. So here is a video from the American Red Cross on how to test and install a smoke detector, but we're going to focus on the testing piece.
The American Red Cross reminds you to check the smoke alarms in your home monthly and to replace the batteries once a year. Checking your smoke alarm only takes a few moments and can provide life-saving protection for your family. To test your smoke alarm, take these 2 easy steps each month. Press the test button for 3 to 5 seconds. If you hear a loud beep, your alarm is working. It's that simple. If you don't hear a loud beep, then you will need to replace the batteries. To change the batteries in your smoke alarm, remove the alarm. Take out the old battery. Replace the old battery with a new battery of the same type. Put the alarm back in place and test the alarm again. You should now hear a loud beep, indicating your alarm is working. If your home doesn't have a smoke alarm, install one today. When selecting a location to install the new alarm, consider these tips. Every level of the home should have a smoke alarm, including the basement. Priority areas include a hallway outside of bedrooms, on the ceiling at the bottom of the stairways leading to the next level, and inside bedrooms or sleeping areas. Avoid placing smoke alarms in the kitchen or outside the door to a full bathroom. Now follow these easy steps to install your new smoke alarm. Place a sturdy ladder where you will install the alarm. Use a drill to insert screws into the wall to hold the alarm. Note the installation date on the back of the alarm, then attach the alarm. Test the alarm to verify the alarm is working. Now that you know how easy it is to test and install a smoke alarm, please join the Red Cross Sound the Alarm campaign. You can help us install free smoke alarms in your community that can save lives. To learn more, visit soundthealarm.org.
I highly recommend, I know you guys have already on your plates, but also establishing a solid partnership with American Red Cross, because they have so many resources for safety you can use for clients. And one of the things that
The American Red
I
Cross
used to be a part of, I used to volunteer for their pillowcase project. This is a very special project. The pillowcase project, it is a preparedness education program for grades 3 through 5. It does teach students about personal and family preparedness and safety skills, about local hazards and basic coping skills. And once a child does graduate from the pillowcase project program, they do get supplies and they actually get a pillowcase, and they're taught what is important to put in a pillowcase in order to survive a fire or a disaster. So again, I highly recommend that you partner with American Red Cross, because even when you're doing inspection, and say you do have a potential landlord you really like, it's a solid home or a solid unit, but they don't have the appropriate smoke alarms. If you have a partnership with American Red Cross, they're willing to provide these for free. So you can have that resource to give to a landlord to get the proper installation of smoke detectors in the unit or in that home. So we have another quiz. So we're going to do pass or fail. So as you can see, we're looking at this picture. Would it pass or fail when you're doing inspection? I have no idea what that means. With that pit, if you saw a smoke detector, I'm gonna go back. If you saw a smoke detector that looks like this while doing your walkthrough, would this pass or fail? Okay, there we go. I have someone's name, Catherine Ashby says fail. Anybody else want to join it? Would it pass or fail? Okay, we're going to move on. And whoever said fail, they are absolutely correct. That would fail the smoke detector inspection piece. And that, by the looks of it, that could be an easy fix. If I was the housing specialist, I would make sure that the battery is in there, and then tell the landlord to properly adjust it, to put it back on the wall, and then install it. And I guess people are putting their names in instead of the quiz in the chat. So let's see so yes, it's fail. Quiz time. This is a little bit early, but I want to see how much you guys know. Would this pass or fail? I'm gonna go back to the picture. Would this stove pass or fail? If you're doing your walkthrough, you're looking at through the kitchen with this stove, pass or fail. Not everybody at once. I'll give a few seconds to see if anyone wants to answer. Well, since no one is going to answer, I am going to go ahead and answer for you. Let's go back to it. If I was doing my walkthrough and I saw this, I would fail it. Does anyone know why I would fail? Can you put in the chat? Yasmin got her hand up. Take yourself off of mute, Yasmin. Why would it fail? Oh, you can't take people off of chat. I'm sorry. Okay. This would fail because it has no knobs. I wanted to see if you guys could catch that. I would fail this unit because it has no knobs. So I wanted to see if you could catch that.
Looks like Abigail got that in the chat.
Okay, so there are people that are using the chat. Okay, they're not using, but okay, cool. I'm glad you guys caught it. I just want to see if you're paying attention. Yes, this would fail. Now, we're going to talk about electrical issues. So during the inspection, you will check for exposed wires inside and outside the unit and to see if the power works in the home or unit. You must check that all outlets, light switches, and fuse boxes are properly covered with no cracks or breaks in the cover plates. As you can see on this slide, this is an exposed wire with a bulb hanging. This is a no-no. This is a really big no-no, is you have exposed wires in a fuse box. And as you can see, the bottom outlet is not just only burnt, it's cracked, it's in bad shape. And here, this would not pass an inspection. Be like, well, wait a minute, it's not that bad, but the light switch it has a cracked plate. So this would not pass. So the power should even be on in a unit or home, even if it's unoccupied. It is difficult to do a thorough inspection without electricity. So without the power, you can't test the lights, the outlets, or appliances. So also lack of power might suggest the landlord is trying to hide something. So that is a red flag for me. When I used to, if a landlord knows that I'm going to do a walkthrough for a pre-inspection, they should make sure that the electricity is on. I do recommend bringing a phone charger to test the home and our unit outlets. You will also check the GFCI outlets to make sure that they are present where there is a water source. So for example, there should be GFCI outlets would be in kitchens, bathrooms, and if there's a laundry room. Now, a GFIC outlet, it is a fast acting circuit breaker that shuts off electric powering during a ground fault. So here's an example of what one looks like. So when I used to do my inspections, if I saw that these were not present with water sources were at, the unit would not pass the inspection. Because this is a way that if this is not available, example, in the bathroom or in the kitchen area, a client could get electrocuted if they didn't have this type of a GFC outlet around that area. Now we're going to talk about a thermostat. You can check the thermostat to see if it's working. So you're saying, how do you check to know if a thermostat is broken? Well, when you turn it on, if the AC or furnace does not turn on or doesn't respond when you turn it off, then there is going to be an issue with the thermostat as well. So we're going to talk about kitchen appliances. So if the landlord does, this is a key thing. When you're talking about appliances and passing an inspection, now, if the landlord requires the client to bring the appliances, then it does not have to pass an inspection, because if the client is going to supply it, it's on the client. However, if the landlord are supplying the appliances, then you should test them. You should test them and ensure that they're in working order. I still would do it regardless if it was the client's providing, because again, the goal is to make sure your client is safe. Well, for example, when you test each stove burner, ensure that the oven is also clean. It heats up properly. When you check the refrigerator and freezer, does it close? Does it secure properly? Ensure that each component gets recently cold and every drawer opens and seals properly. That's the one thing you want to make sure that the refrigerator, it seals properly, because the last thing you want to do, if it does not seal properly, you get a small child that can easily get into a refrigerator and it locks behind them. Check for lingering smells that might indicate mold. Someone had said that earlier. Another thing you can check for, are the cabinets in good shape? Are they properly secure, and are they fastened to the wall? Are they clean, and are they free from any mold, mildew, or rodent droppings? And we'll talk about that a little bit later. You also want to check the plumbing. When doing an inspection, you can check the plumbing by checking the water pressure and the temperature. Does it get hot? Does it get cold? You also want to check for leaks by looking underneath the sink. So if I'm going in the kitchen and I turn the sink on to test and make sure it gets, I'm checking the water pressure, but also I'm checking to see if it gets hot, to get cold. Guess what? I'm looking below to see if it's leaking as well. And that's the same too when you're going to check the water pressure in the bathroom. Are there leaks around the tub? Also, when I'm flushing the toilet, is there leaks around the basin of the toilet? And one thing I also do too, is the toilet still running after I'm about to leave after my inspection? So that would give me a clue if the toilet is functioning properly. And also, is the bathroom free of any sewer odor? So we have another quiz. So I want you to pay attention to this. This is a video. So the question is, would you pass this? Would it pass or fail? I'm waiting on responses. Would you pass, or if you saw that doing your walkthrough, would you pass the shower in the bathroom? And also, would you pass this and pass it? Is my Slido not working?
I think the image is in front of the answers.
Okay. Or should I back it up? Not seeing any answers, Grace. You're my Slido queen.
It would be here, but
I
the
tried-
thumbnail for the video.
Yeah, I tried answering, so there should be some answers at least.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
If you can't answer, I apologize. If you can't answer in the Slido, can you check the chat for me, guys? Can you put it in the chat? Would you pass or fail this? And if you tell me the reason if you passed, or tell me the reason if you failed it. Are there
We got an answer that
Okay.
we have some answers. It says, let's see here, it needs fix. The water pressure, so it would fail.
Absolutely, you caught it. The water pressure is horrible, so this would be a fail. Fail big time. So I know someone earlier was on the money when they talked about mold and mildew, so we're going to talk about that right now. Mold is the most common source of air quality problems in the living space, unfortunately. It can be difficult to detect since it does hide in hard to see areas such as walls, ventilation ducts, and crawl spaces. But you can use some inspection tips to determine if there is possible mold in a unit or home. Now, upon entering a unit or home, one thing I would do, I would see if it smelled musty. Now, mold does have an earthy smell and can smell like rotting leaves or decaying wood. Now, mold and mildew, they are often used interchangeably because mildew is a certain type of mold, but although they can appear similar, there are some differences. Now, mold is powdery. It has a powdery and downy look and texture to it, and it appears as white or gray. But regardless if it's mold or mildew, inspection for black or dark and green spots on the walls, ceilings, and molding is essential. So, for example, you would look for if there's discoloration areas on the walls. Again, you're checking the ceilings. Also check into the cabinets. Look for mildew or mold in the bathroom, particularly on shower tiles, the tub, and the sink. Now, in the kitchen area, you're going to check there can be mold in refrigerators and cabinets and under the sink as well. Now, here's an example. This is not just a dirty shower. This is mold in the tiles. And here is what mold on a ceiling looks like. And this is mold in a refrigerator. This could be an easy fix with bleach. But I want you to see what it does. Mold can be in a refrigerator. And this is mold around a door frame. And if you have a house and you're doing inspection in the basement, this is what mold in a basement looks like around wooden beams if you check on the top. I'm just using the top as an example, but this is what it looks like when you can see mold in a basement. So we're going to do another Slido. Hopefully you guys can get your answers on this. What common places might mildew or mold be in an apartment or home? Okay, 2 participants are typing fridge. Yes. Yes. Great check-in. I got one more indoor frame. Now, again, mold can be anywhere else, but I just, for time purposes, I want to highlight the common areas that it could possibly be when you're doing an inspection. So, great answer. So I just want to prepare you guys. If you just had lunch, we're going to see some little, disturbing things, but I just want to give you a heads up. So, we're getting ready to talk about pests and rodents.
Hey, Lynette, before we continue, just wanna tell you about another 10 minutes.
Oh, crap. Okay, I gotta hurry up. Okay, so pests and rodents, since pets and rodents can live in empty units, people don't know that. They can live in units for almost a month after someone is absent from it. So I have to when I used to do inspections, I would just have also a change of clothes, just FYI. Bring a flashlight in order to look for fecal stains or moldings and outlet covers. Bed bug feces, they are reddish and brown in nature, and also look out for wall black spots and bed bug casings. And we're going to go through this quickly due to time. This is what rat and mouse droppings look like. And this is bed bug droppings with the shells. And you also want to assess windows and doors. You want to check the doorknobs to test all door locks to ensure that they work. And try all the windows and doors to ensure that they open, close, and lock properly. Another thing you want to look for are the windows free of any cracks and not broken, and are they insulated well? You want to check for egresses. You're probably like, what is the egress? Well, egress is a key aspect of home safety. You want to make sure that if an emergency happens, your client has more than one way to exit an actual room or a basement. In many areas, building codes require egress windows requirements to ensure that the tenant has a second means of exit from a basement living space in the event of an emergency. Now, let's go through these quickly. This is what a broken window looks like. It might not look like much, but this can expand, especially in cold weather. And I want to talk about egresses. This is what we consider an egress on the left. Yes, a small child could get out of that if a fire broke out per se, but guess what? An adult couldn't get out of that window on the left. Now, the right, they did correct the egress. So you want to make sure that if something happens, not just a small child can get out of the window, but an adult. The window has to be big enough for a large-sided adult to exit just in case. This is a tripping hazard. And this is another tripping hazard. I'm going to go ahead and skip the slide. I'll do the time. because bed bugs can live in an occupied house unit for months. Because I really want to get to, Abby, you won that. I want to get to, we're going to skip over this because this is just doing an overview of the property. Again, check for code violations. If you want to check the integrity of the landlord before in pre-inspection. Speak with neighbors if you want to get a feel for it. And then also you can request criminal records connected to that address. You could go to the police department and pull a record to see if there's any activity. So I really want to get to the disclosures so you'll have time for questions. This is very important. Depending on your state, disclosures are required before having a client sign a lease. I do highly recommend that you research your state laws regarding which disclosures are mandatory. By knowing your mandatory disclosures, you will know what type of documents should be part of the lease, and also as what questions to ask and what to do for the pre-inspection. Now, due to time, again, I'm only going to go over the few important disclosures that you should be aware of in your state, and then a respectable landlord should be going over those disclosures with you before your client signs a lease. The client, we talked about it earlier, the tenant does have rights to have a copy of the move-in checklist. This gives the tenant opportunity to know any changes they found in a unit that was there prior to them moving in. But however, the responsibility is on the tenant to fill in this checklist and note the damage that there's some damage prior to move in. It's important that you go over that checklist with them. You document any damages because during move out, you don't want your client to be charged for damages that already exist. So that is one of the things that they are entitled to, a move-in checklist. But your client is responsible for turning in that move-in checklist with the repairs. They have a right to be present during their move-out inspection. If a landlord tells them, oh, you don't have to be present. Yes, they do have a legal right to be present during that move-out inspection. Again, I would recommend when I used to have my client move out, they have their move-in checklist and go over that checklist and make sure they're not getting charged things that was there before they moved in. They have a right to know the presence of environmental hazards. If the landlord knows there is a hazard level of mold in the unit, the applicant must be informed prior to signing the lease. In addition, some states do require notice of inaccessible radon levels and requires the landlord to test for radon and provide the test results to the applicant. Now, for properties built before 1981, the landlord must also disclose the possibility of asbestos being present, and the same also for lead. So if you have a property that's older than 1978, they have to give lead disclosures. And bed bugs. Some states and cities have bed bug specific laws requiring landlords to disclose a property history of bed bugs if a prospective tenant asks. So again, check your state laws of disclosure. So if before you have a client sign a lease, ask about the bed bugs. They have to disclose if there was a bed bug breakout. And this is so important. I know we're strained for time, but I really want to focus on the sex offenders. This disclosure agreements, it does vary by state, but landlords are generally required to provide tenants with notice about the presence of a registered sex offender in the area. Now, the disclosure may be in the form of a notice on the property listing, a separate disclosure form, or requirement to direct tenants to a website where they can access information about registered sex offenders. Now, we all want to be responsible for our client safety, especially if our clients have small children or have children in the home. Regardless of what your state laws are, I highly recommend this be one of your best practices. Check your sex offender registry. Check that address to see where the sex offenders are in that potential unit or home that you're going to lease a client up at. And then another thing, if there's been a death in the unit, landlords must inform prospective tenants of that, because I know sometimes that could be important due to religious beliefs. And then again, smoke alarm, upkeep, who's responsible for what, and flood disclosures. So I want to make sure I got through those disclosures. So I know I went through a lot of things quickly, but the good thing about it, you can always reach out to me. I can see that one of my team members, Yasmin, and also Grace is one of my team members, is present on this training. You can always, again, reach out to us. You can contact me by email by lpearl@cwsglobal.org. Or as I mentioned earlier, you can go to our website and you can book a TA session with one of either myself or one of my team members. I'm sorry, I kind of rushed through that because I want to make sure I make the time for questions.
No worries. Thank you so much, Lynette, for such a great presentation. So we're gonna open it up for questions. So you can go ahead and submit your questions in the chat or the Q&A, and then Lynette will go ahead and answer your questions.
There's no questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Do you have a question? Okay.
Yellow, yes, because yes, my name is Newcomers. I'm here in Miami. I'm the housing coordinator in the Southeast region for CWS, and we are having some issues sometimes with the landlords because our units are sometimes are old. We don't work with landlords with fancy units or units that have been built like modern units. No, most of the times I work with landlords that have old units, and sometimes when I conducted the home inspections, I see that there is some issues that have to be fixed. Okay, I let the landlords know about that problem, but at the same time, because the requirement, this job is the dynamic of this job is like we have to hurry up and to place some clients in permanent housing. Sometimes I ask the landlord to fix the problems, and the landlords let me know that sometimes it takes time to fix the problems. Sometimes I do the following. I move the clients because the issues are not related with safety, are not safety issues. Sometimes, and I can move the clients, and the landlord sometimes work in the house, but when the clients are already living in the house. Is that okay or not? Because sometimes I don't have the availability, the enough units available for me to refuse, some houses because are not properly okay. So, and sometimes for me is I prefer taking the units, and meanwhile the landlords can fix the problems, but with the clients inside. Is that okay or not? Because I don't know if you understand me.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Sometimes there's issues that can be so minute, and you can have an agreement with the landlord to work around the maintenance while the client is housed. Is that what you're saying? That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Again, it depends on, I mean, I've done that before. It depends. When I was a housing specialist, again, I didn't house newcomers. It was a different population, but it depends on what the issue is. What I used to do, because again, my manpower was short, like yours, when I was housing clients, I can only do so much, and I had a big caseload. So it was an issue that I would discuss with my client that was something they could live with, or it was, again, not
Okay.
a safety issue, and they agreed to it. Before they signed the lease, I had them do an addendum. I had to
Okay.
have the landlord do the addendum that these items would be fixed while the client was in the home at a reasonable time period. And also because, again, your time is stretched. So I would say, okay,
Exactly.
send me a picture when the repair has been made and email me a picture of the repair. Or I would have the client email me a picture of the repair. Or if if it's a repair that again, you have to discuss this with your tenant, your client, I'm sorry, they can live with it, negotiate the rent down because it needs to be repaired. If they say, well, even if the landlord decides they don't want to repair it, I can live with it. Okay, let's negotiate the rent down a little bit. And that's what I would
Yes.
do. Like, hey, can you live without such and such? Because it's not a safe, because again, this is not a safety issue. If it's not a
No.
safety issue, your client's okay with it, then I said, hey, let's negotiate the rent down, or let's try to negotiate with the landlord when to get the repair while you're in the unit. But if they're gonna repair it or they're going to lower the rent, we got to get it in writing.
Ah, okay, yes, that's a good idea because that allows me to negotiate the price. Because sometimes if it's something that the landlord can't fix, it's okay. But sometimes the unit is too old and the landlord cannot fix the problem, but that gives me an opportunity to negotiate with them. That's
Absolutely.
good.
But also take pictures of the damage, because again, once your client moves out, you don't want the landlord to come back and say, well, they did that damage. That damage was already existing. That's why you always document everything. You agree to it, that the client's going to live with this particular little issue, but when they move out, you're not going to charge them as part of their deposit. It's not going to be taken out of their deposit.
Yeah, exactly.
Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Thank you. Mhm.
Looks like we have a question in the chat. It says, what is important to look for in carpeting? As in, what would be considered a deal breaker when resettling refugees? We have some places that are safe and affordable, but the carpet is not great, and I'm not sure what's okay and what is not.
Aesthetics, that's different. If they have different types of carpet in each room, we don't care about aesthetics. It would be the safety issue. Again, you're looking for tripping hazards, and also you're looking if a carpet is not secured, I would pull it up because it's a tripping hazard, to make sure, again, if it's an older unit, it could be a newer unit too, for any water damage, any mold. But aesthetics, you can go past aesthetics, because I've had clients turn down houses. Well, I don't like the carpet. We're not here for aesthetics. You are here to make sure it's safe and sanitary and it's affordable. Those are the key things you need to say to the client before you do the housing search. Our goal here is for you to find safe, sanitary, and affordable housing. Some aesthetics you can pass up on, because aesthetics it doesn't affect safety. But a deal breaker is if it's mold infested carpeting, or there's been water damage to the carpet, and then you can request either the landlord repair it, replace it, or tear it up, depending what's underneath it.
Yamil, it looked like you had gone off of mute. If you have a question, feel free to ask.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Did you have a question that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, when we trying to rent the house, is that any house or is some special houses that available for the refugee?
Okay, I'm
Hello?
sorry, I don't understand your question.
Yeah, yeah. Hello?
Yes,
Hi.
ma'am. Yes, sir. I
Yeah,
don't
my
know.
question was, is that a special houses that we have to rent, or we have to look at every houses?
Any house.
Any house. Any house is okay. And when we gonna start?
I'm sorry, I'm confused. Are you asking, are you required to look at any type of house? I'm echoing.
When we gonna start to look the house?
Are you a client, or are you a sponsor or volunteer?
I'm a sponsor. The family doesn't come yet.
Okay, so you're asking when you start looking for housing?
Yes.
Oh, okay, now we're on the same page.
now we're on the same.
Would it, Yamil, would it be okay if you muted yourself, so that there isn't an echo?
Is that echo? What do you want me to do?
Yeah, just mute yourself while she's answering.
If you know that you have, regardless, you know you have a family that's coming, if not coming, I still always recruit for potential landlords. Recruitment is a process. You don't have to wait for a family to come. I always say, always have good landlords on standby for when clients do come or need to be housed. So recruitment, I said, don't wait until a family actually come. I said, start going out and establishing good, solid relationships with potential landlords now. And we do have a
Okay,
recruitment.
thank you.
We do have a recruitment toolkit on our website on how to establish relationships and how to maintain them until you actually get a client house with one of your housing providers.
Okay, thank you.
Is there another question by chance?
There is one in the chat,
Hello?
says oh. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Mohammed Sabir Rahimi. I am a housing specialist at U.S. Committee for Refugees in Albany.
Yes, sir.
So I have been in a housing specialist position for 6 months, almost 7 months. I experienced a lot with the landlords, a lot like a lot of houses in Albany. I made a connection with the landlords. A lot of houses, like literally, I can say most of the houses are old. It's like the year of built is like more than 100 years. And some of the landlord, when they give us the apartment, when we are going to inspection, the inspection is going past, everything is good, but a little bit something uh, kind of, I cannot say example, but a kind of like a little bit that it's not necessary, very necessary. But when we demand from landlord in the first, we are taking the apartment for the clients because we have not a time. We see the upcoming arrivals in the sheet, so we have to find apartment. We have to like resettle them in the apartment. We have to set up everything. But and after we are taking the apartment, the landlords, they are never listening to the tenant. Some of them are not going to fix some of the things sooner for the tenant, and they are saying it is what it is. Some of the landlords I met with them, and because that was a dangerous, so I refuse them. Like I disconnect my connection with them, because one of the landlord, I experienced that in the bay, I take the apartment, I rent the apartment for the new arrivals. I saw all the house, I inspect all the house. That was great, good. But in the basement, because I was in urgent, I didn't sign the basement. I saw, but not like carefully. When I call National Grid to come and turn on the heat, probably when I am renting the apartment, so that day, in the inspection day, after I inspect, I came to office and I am like doing their utilities, transfer the services for them. So then I called the national, here is the National Grid is like a utilities department. So I called them, the tech came in the basement and he saw everything was short. Everything was short. When I called to landlord, he said hey, why you call to National Grid? You supposed to call me. I was the one to go to turn on the heat for them. I told them, no, I cannot do that.
Mhm.
When I'm inspect the apartment, I have to call to National Grid. Then they will send me the tech, and the tech will check all the downstairs, upstairs, all the basement, the meters, the boilers, everything. When they didn't found anything risky or damaged or short, then they will like turn on the heat. When they are seeing like there is everything is short, you can turn on this, but that's very dangerous for the tenant.
Mhm.
So then I reject the apartments. In between 2 weeks, I changed the apartment to people. Although he bring all the stuff new, and I told him, no, I cannot deal with you because you lied to me, and that was not about the property. That was about the tenant, the arrivals. They all will burn in the midnight. So here is a lot of problems with the landlords and house inspection, but still we are doing good. Like I am working as a housing specialist since September, and I trained for 2 weeks. After training, I start. I am new in the country. I have been here for 1 year and 2 months. February 2nd, 2023 is my arrival day in the US, and I am from Afghanistan. And I hired as a I did the delivery. It's like my kind of my story. If I'm not taking your a lot time, I'm sorry. So from since
Sorry, Mohammed, we do have 2 minutes left.
oh, that's
So
why I told you. So that was the big problem. That was the experience that I got from the housing specialist. Another thing, it is very difficult to sign the house and do not give them the security deposit with the rent. It make a big problem in the Albany, because when we are going to do the paperwork with the landlords, we are going to process that to HQ, and they will send us back the check, everything. It takes 2 weeks. And a lot of landlords, they have a concern about that. And that's why we lose some of opportunity in the
Well,
meantime.
we can talk offline. You can schedule an appointment with me and my team, and we can talk offline about some best practices. But I want to mention this right quick. We talked about, I only went over a brief overview of how to do an inspection, but the important thing that I forgot to mention, you need to read that lease. The lease will outline who's responsible for what repairs. And especially when you talk about electrical issues, as he mentioned, that is a landlord repair. A landlord cannot say, well, no, that's beyond my control. It's so important that you read the lease before you have a client see the lease, sign it, because it will outline who's responsible for what repairs the unit or home. So I do want to put that out there. Again, I do highly recommend that you recruit an actual inspector to donate their time to your agency, because if you have those questions or you have those issues, you have an actual expert with a certification who can guide you properly. We just did just a glimpse of how to do an inspection. I think I have one
Got
more
it,
question.
ma'am.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, this is Yamil. I'm sorry. And
No.
in the United States, we have a restriction, the houses, the size, the family and size of the house. So is there any restriction for those 5 people that who's coming here? How many rooms that we have to rent for them?
Okay, you're talking about occupancy ordinances. If you really want to know your occupancy ordinance for your area, echoing.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, check with your local housing authority. Your local housing authority will give you what is the occupancy ordinances for your area, but also you can check with your code compliance department in your area. It can outline, because I know one of the things is a lot of the housing specialists said, well, we're running into landlords saying they won't house so many clients in a unit or in a home. Some of it can be discriminatory and some of it can be legitimate because again, they want to make sure they're not breaking their occupancy ordinances in their area. So that's why when you are a housing specialist, you have to be educated, not just on general things of resettlement, but you got to be educated on your state laws and your housing laws and your local housing laws in order to advocate for your client.
Well, I want to thank all of you.
Thank you.
And special thanks to our presenter for today, Lynette. Thank you for attending today's RWC Lunch and Learn. We would like to hear from you and receive any feedback on today's webinar and hear your suggestions for future Lunch and Learn topics. We ask that you take a moment now to complete a survey. You can use your phone and follow the QR code on the screen, or you can follow the link in the chat. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.